Good evening gamers, Wobble here, yours truly, as per usual. This time back surprisingly fast, and not after half a year of absence. Today's game will be Victoria 3, another cult classic, glorified map painting simulator from our dear friends over at Paradox Games. In case you don't know what it is, Victoria 3 can be best described as a grand strategy game with at least a recognizable attempt at being historically accurate. Your objective is to guide a nation through the Victorian era, which includes such historically important events like the Industrial Revolution, rise of nationalism, and by God, communism. And even though the 1.10 version hasn't been my favorite due to its, quirks, it's a game I have spent a considerable number of hours on recently, and with another soul and hour-sucking product from Paradox looming in the horizon, I thought this was the perfect time to make a video on Victoria 3. Now Victoria 3 begins just as any other grand strategy. You must pick a nation to play. In our case, we will pick Belgium. Not for any nationalistic reasons, but Belgium has the intelligentsia as one of their ruling parties. They are, at least to Victorian-era standards, very liberal, and they allow us to pass certain laws that allow us to grow Belgium to massive volumes. Well, in theory anyway. In reality, laws are sometimes very hard to pass and require either very careful management or knowledge surpassing celestial beings on what to do, something that I must admit I do not possess. Well, while I set up basic infrastructure in my nation, this shall be a good time to tell you a bit more about Victoria 3. Even though it is a bit of a buggy mess now and probably years into the future, it is by its core a very deep sandbox. Sure, there are paths to follow and the game can give you tutorials to do something that was historically accurate. Say, unite Germany, or colonize the western frontier in the USA. But it can also be used to do practically whatever you want with your nation. Install a communist regime, sure, on whatever nation you want. Build 2000 vehicle manufactories before the 1900s, it's possible. And that to me is what keeps this game interesting. The basics like building an economy and managing a government stay the same, but your goals can be very ambiguous. And I think this unending cornucopia of possibilities can be summarized to you very well through these absolute golden takes from the Victoria 3 subreddit. So, here we go. Is fascism good now? China should be 7 different countries. How to remove the Chinese from China? Natives aren't people. 90% of the Chinese population starved to death due to British occupation. Achieving socialism by nationalizing slavery. Discussion. How do I get rid of Poles? Hungarians liberated my slaves. Is it possible to re-enslave them? What? Any reason to keep the Indians alive? Is slavery actually that bad? How do I destroy my American democracy? And hyped for racism update. These are all wildly crazy takes, but I think they represent this game very well. Half joking, of course. These examples I gave you are rather ridiculous extremities, formed especially to sound as wild as possible, but you get the point. And would you look at that, I managed to set up our beloved Belgium. I have a, well, strong economy and have grown my army, so naturally the first thing to do in this playthrough is to attack the Netherlands. They have way too much land and we would like to ease their burdens. So, through some finagling and having Prussia take our side this war, we conquered most of their lands. After this war, our population grew to 7.5 million. Not great, not terrible. Keep this number in mind, we will use it later as a reference point. Even though Belgium starts with intelligentsia, the average government after elections was very right-leaning. With their help, I passed colonial exploitation a while back and now started to expand our colonial empire. If some of you feel a strong déjà vu at seeing this image, do not worry, you are not imagining things. Belgian Congo. If you want to do some light reading and are not caught up on world lore, history, I guess, look up Belgian Congo and you will understand why we have a human rights watch nowadays. Not to worry, we will not be committing such atrocities today. Talking about atrocities, we conquered Friesland from the Netherlands after the 5-year truce period was over, and now we could get to scaling. In our case, scaling meant scaling up our population. This meant passing laws that improve the quality of life, such as open voting systems, healthcare, education, and open borders. These would all, as mentioned, improve quality of life and make people live longer and happier. I know, it's crazy. What? Living happy and content? Unheard of for the Wobble channel. Now, how passing legislation in Vic 3 works is that the parliament of your country has to debate the law through its 3 stages to voting to apply it. It has a success and failure rating depending on how much the parliament's seats are in favor of it, and with these small events you, mostly through luck, can increase chance of success. This process is, much as in real life, incredibly fucking time consuming, so it must run on the side while we do other things. I let the game run on 5 speed, because a bleb like me doesn't really have to micromanage every single product by the day. No, all of you true Paradox piggies get your greasy hands off the comment field, this is no tutorial. But Wobble, we need to keep a constant eye on the market and the population, and your methods are all wrong. Silence, I say! We get it, you get no bitches, so cease your blabbering at once. This ain't no tutorial. I kept slowly but surely passing these helpful laws and building up our infrastructure. Universities, mines, factories, you name it, we got it. Another reason why Belgium, and especially now our Mega-Belgium, is goated is because this land contains all the necessary resources to be self-sufficient in all major industries in this game, meaning we could scale pretty much carefree without conquest from now on. Eventually, we had managed to raise our standard of living to 15. This was, at least by this time, a lot better than in a lot of places, meaning we would be an attractive place to migrate to. We started getting mass migration events from neighboring areas. Slowly and pretty eventlessly, time passed on, I got lost through, Germany invaded France, a bit early for that I suppose, and our GDP hit 50 million. A low amount in today's numbers, but for Victoria 3 Belgium, somewhat impressive. Karl Marx has been exiled from Germany. Alright, unlucky. That was, for us at least, bootleg communist Santa Karl Marx apparently stopped by to spread his ideas, and because my fat ass may have been away from my PC getting a burger and not paying attention, the Socialist Party in our government seized power, and we had a communist revolution. So now we were communist Mega-Belgium. Man, I just got back, what the hell happened? This wasn't the worst thing in the world, our economy and living standard were still doing fine, but it did throw a tiny wrench into our plans. You see, all this time I've really wanted to pass multiculturalism. A law which makes it that no person, regardless of cultural background, is discriminated against. As is probably common knowledge, such laws didn't really exist back in the Victorian times. Only certain types of political leaders lobby for them, and they are most commonly found within the intelligentsia. Well, technically in the Socialist Party too, but the communist ideology was now just too damn strong. Related to this, the communist regime made the intelligentsia not really all that favored, so it was extremely unlikely to get them as a leader, to get that sweet 100% immigration attraction bonus. Well, shit. At least we still had our growing economy. By the 1890s, our population had reached over 20 million, both from migration and birth rates. A nice spike we got was when we researched combustion engines. This could allow us to manufacture cars and other vehicles, and they were very much in high demand. Within this same decade, our GDP grew to being over 110 million, and our living standard to 20. Secure. This meant that every person, regardless of status, was doing rather well, able to access education, healthcare and unemployment benefits. Truly a remarkable society. We had even gotten our democracy back. All seemed well. An equal society to those living in it. Certainly, most marvelous. But however, there was trouble looming over the horizon. As you may have noticed, this whole game, my cash flow has constantly gotten worse. We are taking on more and more debt. Our economy cannot handle the healthcare system and social benefits, not to mention the constantly resource-hungry construction sector, which I had failed to plan accordingly. Oh yeah, and the colonial nations want freedom, which somehow led to this noisy mess. Thanks, Paradox. I had to fight an uprising after uprising while still trying to grow our economy, leading us further down in debt. I tried to build more resources for the construction sector, better infrastructure, more jobs, but nothing seemed to help. And eventually we were forced to declare bankruptcy. Well, that sucks. All of our institutions and public infrastructure reset to the lowest level. With money reserves wiped out from all the factories, our GDP was tanking. Living quality down the drain. What a tragedy. All that we had built gone in an instant due to our poor planning. I sat and pondered. Wait a second. Since when have we cared about people's well-being? Since when have we not enjoyed stirring the chaos around us? And since when have we played a game the way it's meant to be played? Never, never, ever, I tell you. We can save this situation, but obviously to our entertainment's benefit. Our country had around 30 million people, now many jobless and angry. With a living standard so low, many also probably homeless and sick. Well, seems rather optimal to me. It was time to pass in one final law. No migration in or out of the country is permitted. 30 million people are now stuck inside our borders. So now on to phase 2 of my masterful plan, removing as many jobs as possible. If you people don't wish to work for the benefits of this nation, there shall be no jobs. I cancelled every trade agreement with neighboring countries and declared bankruptcy again. I nationalized as many farms and factories as possible, then destroyed them and bankrupted myself for a third time. Rinse and repeat. If only it was so easy in real life. I kept going and going until our living standard had reached a new low of 11 and GDP dropped to 80 million. This 20 to 11 drop is like moving from, say, a Nordic country to Madagascar. No hate on Madagascar of course, but things just are the way they are. But perhaps to some people this was the final nail in the coffin. I mean, there were around 600 people supporting the government and 19 million against it. A revolution started, a fascist one for some reason, and because of their occupation our living standard dropped to a record low of 9.5. And yeah, I may have bankrupted for the fourth and final time. There was practically no jobs, no goods to buy or produce, and thus 30 million people were now locked within this barren, resourceless, starving hellhole. On January 1st, we got annexed and hopefully virtually decapitated by the angry mob storming the government palace, and lost the game. In my eyes, this was a successful campaign though. Guess there is a lesson to be learned here somewhere. Perhaps something akin to, regardless of our past, the voice of many is what's strong today. Or something like that, I don't know, this whole journey was a complete mess with like 13 improvised goals I gave myself through it. But it was fun to work on regardless. It is very different to write a script to a story for a game like this, where the visuals don't really help with the storytelling. Well, as per usual, please leave comments if this video was well enough structured to follow and watch through. And well, I suppose as a bit of a late disclaimer, everything I've said in this video is only related to the game and its alternate history storyline and is not a reflection of my opinions or any innuendo for any political takes. It is purely meant for entertainment purposes, and the Wobble channel takes a strictly apolitical stance on YouTube videos. I don't wish to discuss politics, and my wish is that this channel remains open to everyone regardless of political and cultural background, so do not engage in that kind of commentary in the comments. Anyhow, with that out of the way, I thank you so much for watching and sticking along with me to the end. This one was a bit more complex perhaps, but I tried to keep the style together. What do you think? Leave opinions and comments, what you liked, what to do better, and what game do you wanna see next. Or like and subscribe, it conveys the same message as always, that you like this and want to see more. And then I will indeed make more. But until then, thank you so much for watching, I've been Wobble, and we will see on our next adventure. Take care.